Hi everyone and welcome back. My name's Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. Today I'm going to talk to you about how you can clean your violin bow, but more specifically about how you can actually clean the hairs of your bow rather than the wood. So just before I go any further and talk more about how you can do that, I just want to put out a little disclaimer. So obviously you guys know that I'm not a violin luthier, I'm just a performer and teacher, but I have done this in the past and I have been properly informed by violin luthiers as to this is the process that they use professionally to clean the hairs of violin bows. But I would say if you have an expensive bow worth several $100s or several £100, I would just take the bow to a violin luthier who will sort that right out for you. You don't want any accidents to happen on your very expensive bow. If you have a cheaper bow or sort of a student quality bow and you do fancy having a go yourself, all I would say is that just be very, very careful with the denatured alcohol, as if you get any on the wood that can actually start to strip the wood. So anybody that wants to have a go at cleaning the hairs of their bow themselves, then you might want to do this for the following reasons. Perhaps if you have a lot of rosin buildup, if you've got any dirt on your bow, or whether you've just been touching. I know a lot of people sort of accidentally touch the hairs of the bow and all the dirt and oils and grease and everything from your hand transfer onto the bow and it makes it less kind of susceptible for the rosin to stick to. But if you want to change rosin, so if you just upgraded to a nice expensive rosin and you want to get rid of the old stuff on there and start afresh, then you can do that. Or basically if you just want a kind of a once a year sort of clean of your bow for whatever reason. Okay, so the things that you will need are, you'll just need a towel to protect the surface that you're using, and you'll need some kitchen roll of some sort. You'll need a toothbrush, or an old toothbrush preferably. You'll need some methylated spirits. I've got two different types here, and then a bowl is going to be optional, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So the first method is the bowl method, and what you can do is if you put a little bit of methylated spirits in the bottom of the bowl, then what you would do is take your bow and you'd unscrew, take it out, and then so you've got the bow completely loose here. Just be careful that when you take this off the bow that you don't twist this around too much, because then you're going to have problems. So try and keep it sort of the same way it came off. And then what you can do is just by resting the bow, you can coil it round inside the bowl like this. You'd probably have a little bit more of the methylated spirits. What you want to do is just be very, very careful, because the hair is going to absorb the methylated spirits. So you don't want the hair absorbing too high up here, because then it's going to soak into the wood and possibly undo the glue that you've done here. So you don't want to sort of dip this too much in methylated spirits, but I do, like I said, I do have a small amount in the bowl here already. And then what you would do when you've done that is take a little piece of your kitchen tissue and just wipe it. So just gently remove it from the bowl, and I'm just wiping it. Once you've just wiped it with the tissue, and then you can put the hair back on the same way. Screw it on, and there you are, and you've got a nice clean bow. What you need to do is that this is a little bit damp, so what I would do then is just go through and just wipe, but you must let the bow dry before you start putting any rosin on. If you're completely unsure, just leave the bow to dry overnight. What you'll then have to do is spend quite a bit of time re-putting some rosin back on the bow, because you haven't got anything on the bow, so it's going to be quite sort of shiny, and the rosin isn't going to stick to it, so you're going to have to do it'll be like when you just bought your new bow. Violin luthiers often have powdered rosin, so they already have a lot of rosin in powder form, which then just goes on nice and quickly, and that's how they get the bow rosined up. So of course the other way to do it is to get a little bit of methylated spirits from the bottle, just soak it into the towel, as so as you would. I've already got some on here, keeping the bow or keeping the hair on the bow, and all you would then do is just rub it up and down. And this is probably a much safer way, I would say, of doing it, but it's completely up to you. It depends how grubby it is, depends how you want to do it. But again, just be careful of the wood. I've got two fingers that are underneath here at all times, so the tissue isn't touching the wood. If you want to, you can get your toothbrush that we mentioned earlier, just dip it in a bit of methylated spirits, and again, just go over it, and you'll get, especially at the end and everything, and you'll get all the rosin out of this here and it will come up really nicely. Again, just make sure that this is dry before you start putting rosin on. If it were me, I would just go away and leave it overnight and not have to worry about it. After you've done that, just get a clean, dry tissue and just go over it again just to make sure you get any of the excess. Leave it to dry, and there you go, job's a good one.